that's where we're still only 2 picks in. You don't want to get too far into those hypotheticals. I think very simply, though, for the cut here, probably should just lead with B-Gods here coming into the phase, and then we get those sweet counter picks that we will keep talking about with second pick.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for your theory crafting, but you can't look too far down the road because then you lose a little bit of perspective for the immediate picks. Speaking of immediate picks, though, that is a Dark Willow coming into play for the
Mhm.
cut, presumably B God's pickup. So this hero, she basically disappeared, ET, but damage, a little bit of control, some team fight potential in there as well. If you combine up maybe her and the Mars, all of a sudden you got people bashing their heads face first into your arena because they literally can't stop themselves, and something to work with.
Yeah, and it's like you said, the hero did kind of fall off the face of the earth. Nobody was playing it. And then OG picked it 3 times in their grand final, and then they 3-0'd. So it makes you wonder, what's still hiding in Dota? What are those unpopular heroes up to? It's where once we do get into TI time, I think there will be a good few surprises. There always is something. I'll never forget. I think it was TI 8 group stage where everybody was first phasing Dark Willow Wraith King, and everybody was like, what is this? It looks terrible, but everybody's playing it, so I guess we have to play it too. But it is a sick combo, and it's also a very nice combo versus the Faceless Void. But they steal the
Stole it.
Pango. Yeah, I like it. I think Felt they'd be a little bit nasty here. And of course, Pango, one of the best heroes versus Mars as well. Once you get that Rolling Thunder off, and of course the caveat is you need to start the fight by getting the Rolling Thunder off, but then Mars can't do anything to you. You go into his arena, you ball around, you can't do anything. Same with the Dark Will. You are very vulnerable to that Rolling Thunder. And now if you're the cut, you can't really turn your draft around either. I think if they wanted to, you could see them just pick the puck here. And is that going to be the choice? No, they go for the
Oh,
Bloodseeker instead. The Scourge hero. Okay, I like it.
Scourge hero and just a straight counter to the Pango. So that is the downside here for Felt. It was a nifty play. You steal out the Pangolier from Nico, but you were trying to be so secretive about it that you didn't protect the hero that you stole. So is that enough of an incentive, or I guess a disincentive would be the operative phrase here, for the Pango to try to shift out of a core role, ET, or do they just power through it?
I feel like at this point, you kind of just have to power through it because, well, you need the Pango to team fight at this stage of the game. You don't have that much damage to go into the Chrono. And that's one of the sad things, I guess, here for Felt. You had to ban out what would have been a nice Skywrath Mage pick for you out of fear that the cut get it first. So when it comes to this Faceless Void chronoing, I feel like it has to be after the roll's already been successful and kind of bumping around for a little bit. And I do wonder here for the cut, is this just a simple case of, well, we see our opponents, they've got the worst pick order. They picked their offlaner just one pick too early. I'm getting flashbacks to Italiano Gangsters Night Stalker, where you just immediately get countered out, and then the rest of the game is punctuated by that.
It's definitely a risk here at this point in the draft, but, well, too late to change it, right? Full steam ahead for both squads at this point is the cut. One last ban to work with in terms of, I guess, potential offlane options. Okay, never mind. Question is answered. They will take the Beastmaster out of play, and, well, if you're Felt, ET, is there any more moving they can do, or does this just actually have to be an offlane?
I feel like what might happen is already in banning the offlaners, I think the cut are saying, okay, you're going to make the DP5 in response to our AA. Done. If you make the Pango now your offlaner, then you've got this Pango Tusk lane, which honestly sounds pretty fine versus AA. I feel like there's a pretty decent amount of kill potential there. But that means your mid is going to be coming here. And they do turn it around and pick up the Visage, which I do like a lot. And I think what they have to do now, though, is in reaction to what the cut pick here for Nico. Nico wants to, if you really want to be dirty, you say, okay, Visage has to go mid, or DP has to go mid versus me, and I play SF. Because SF versus Pango is unmatchable. You can't lane that lane. I think that's where I think for the cut right now, if they want to make that type of move, they totally can. If they don't want to go for the Shadow Fiend, they could go for maybe something a little bit more safe. And it's a little
Oh,
bit safer, but the Storm Spirit's just a different pick. I'm actually pretty intrigued, and we'll see how they actually decide to slot in here. But okay, I get the Storm versus Pango, a matchup that Nico actually ended up playing versus Guts in the No Runes match, a matchup that he 100% lost. But Storm versus Pango, this is going to put a little bit more confidence in you and another natural playmaker for the cut. But Not that slam pick that I was expecting. You don't expect the Storm to be your foot in the door. You can't do anything versus me. You definitely play versus a Storm Spirit.
Of course, as the Storm, you're one Chronosphere away from suddenly being dead in the water, right? He has no defensive capabilities if Paradise catches him out, but that's assuming you catch out the Storm Spirit, which is, ask anybody who's played against it, pretty goddamn hard.
Yeah, and it is just another initiator. It's going to alleviate the pressure off of Nick. It's where Scourge, unfortunately, in countering out the Pangolier, does mean that he is no longer a Blink Stun. It's not the Wraith King that I kind of wanted, but I think that's where the Storm Spirit does feel pretty nice in the draft. And now it's just a matter of whether or not Nico can ball out of control, as we've seen him already do it on his Ember and his Pango. See if the Storm Spirit joins up into that upper echelon of Nico heroes. But at the same time, I think this is the most confidence I've been in a felt draft in, well, of course, only their 2 games so far, but I think of their 3 drafts, this definitely has some of the best heroes in the game. So now you just hope that felt can execute.
I want to point out one quick thing though on the Visage. Not 100% sure on the identity. Supernova is the name that they're tagged up as, so it's potentially a little bit different. Might be a stand-in. Again, I haven't had that confirmed as of yet, but blah, blah, blah. Do believe that is the case. I don't think Supernova is Fade on a different account, but if we can get confirmation of that one way or another, we'll let you know. We are get things started, and do also want to point out, ET, we were talking about the other day, this is the first time in a bit we've seen a Faceless Void who actually has the Cthulhu skin. I don't remember what its
Um,
actual name is.
I'm excited. Yeah, I don't know. Is it worth it? Is it really worth it? We'll see.
Your battle pass levels today. No.
Pretty much. At least that's what a lot of people get suckered into. But now we'll have to see because I do think this is probably the best lineup the Felt's been able to get so far. The only odd man out here is kind of the Warden, where you are just going to be up in front and really eating a lot of the harass that the Cut's been doing. But it's also where the Cut have just looked so good the past few days. The Cut, as we kind of talked about last night, though, they are a team that sometimes gets sick of themselves, though. They get sick of playing well. They throw away some of the leads that they do deserve. It ends up being kind of sad, but, um,
Hey,
huh.
Nico. So they see you, bud. That's what all those right clicks are for, but that was a little bit strange. I mean, it's not going to matter too much, but funny that he sat there and took that damage. As speaking of damage, one lone tower shot comes through onto the Death Prophet, and you see, I don't think I've ever seen that many heroes that close together and nobody did anything.
Yeah. So they just get the D word. They say, okay, we're done. We'll go next.
See you
Why
later.
not?
Now, maybe Nick is gonna actually, contest for this, trying to get the rune, but, well, it's a little bit too much damage, and I don't think he really wanted to commit the mana for the rebuke there, so he's gotta let it go. 2-2 split on the bounty runes, and get this laning stage underway. Meanwhile, I do want to point out, in this Southside jungle, these wards just get dropped directly on top of each other, and was the Radiant one that went down just a little bit early. So they should know that the opposing ward is there. We'll see who eventually goes over to D-ward it if they even care to, but less about the lane and more about just trying to see any sort of gank coming with both of those runes. Or wards. Wow, excuse me. I think I said runes like 3
No, yeah.
times.
For sure. And I think it is going to be important to scout out whether or not the Warden is making that rotation. It's where pre-level 6, your Tusk should be making the rotation to punish out that Storm Spirit, but you never know what's going to happen. But we'll have to see how these lanes go. This is the first time we get the Tusk Visage lane. We've seen the Tiny Visage, we've seen the Marcy Visage, we've even seen the Earth Spirit Visage, but Tusk, it brings its own spice there with the added physical damage.
This gives them a little bit more to work with. Of course, on the other side, Pingu, he is going to spam the hell out of Chilling Touch for as long as he is alive. It is not an expensive spell and can do some work. Of course, it doesn't have the greatest synergy in the world with the Blood Right, as you just saw. You don't have too much slow, but once the levels get up there, maybe that changes. Maybe they can sort of keep someone locked down long enough for the Blood Right to actually matter.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's a little bit sad as well. You'd want to get that damage out, but We'll see. It's also one of those cases where the Tusk, if you do need to, can just snowball you on top of the Blood Right if you're really afraid of taking that damage in the silence. So it's something that I bet we see the Warden just hold a skill point in, because Charge is definitely a better skill, but dodging out Blood Rights is nothing to scoff at either.
Right. Completely shut down that combo in its entirety. And hey, not only can you dodge the Blood Right, if you feel like you have the opening, yeah, you can then just turn that snowball into an aggressive play too, depending on the circumstances. So, a lot of utility. Part of the reason why we're kind of excited to see the Tusk getting picked up there, as you said. But over on the other side, this is going to be a slightly more interesting one, just because I don't really know how much Mars and Dark Willow are going to be able to do together. In theory, they do have chain lockdown, but BGod has to throw down a Bramble Maze in a situation where Nick is going to be presumably pushing someone back with the spear, so coordination to actually get both of those lockdowns together is kind of high.
Yeah, it's difficult as Nick just walks over and gets the nice big creep. That feels pretty nice for him, but it's where I think, unfortunately, you don't really have enough damage for either of these heroes. It is DP and Void. They're just simply too strong. It'll take a lot of just right-clicking and trading before anybody is really killable in this situation. But the same can be said for the Mars and the Dark One. I think that's where B-God is really the only target here, but if B-God never gets low, then he can always just kind of Shadow Realm TP out if things are really in dire straits. But very chill laning stage so far.
Yeah, just been very much sort of macro focused, looking for the last hits. Mid lane, though, is where things are starting to get a little bit more tense. Solji starting to drop low, but Nico is dangerously low as well. He's going to pop the Fairy Fire. He needs a little more damage, though, and he doesn't quite have it. 23 HP, I believe it was there for Solji. He's going back in, and he gets it. Oh, okay. Hey, you got it. There's your first blood. Dies literally a half second later, but that's a bold move, considering how low he was.
Yeah, got the levels as well, and even missed a good portion of his swashbuckle, but ended up not mattering. And I was going to mention that someone kind of has to die here. You're kind of ruining your Visage's lane by giving that much damage over Discourage with the Thirst, but at the same time, it happens. You get your kill, you get your trade, you get a little bit of a level advantage for Solji too, which, as we always talk about, is always very important versus that Storm Spirit. It means that Rolling Thunder is going to be online before the Zip. But bottom lane, big trades.
Kingu does go down, but he trades out for the Visage, and, well, the Warden did not hold that point. We might have given him a little bit too much credit. He kind of got the big eyes for the kill. Understandable, but you get caught up in the heat of the moment, and you're standing under what was actually still just a level 1 Blood Right, but it did do some work.
And, well, it's a little bit of mana, but this is also the one part of the game, and rather the stage of the game where, unfortunately, for Supernova, you got raindrops on the other side. Your damage is actually going to slow down really heavily. A lot of the time in those side lanes, we don't get to see those raindrops come out too early just because they're always stuck in the lane, but you get to respawn, you get to reset. I think Scourge even got it dropped off with Pingu acting as his courier, so now your Visage is really going to be kind of on his lonesome here. But also look at the Tusk, rotating towards mid. This is where Nico needs to be very cautious, not to mention Soldier is going to hit his level 6 on this creep wave.
Top lane, they managed to take down the Death Prophet. BGod is going to be able to walk away, and then we can turn our attention back to mid.
Wait
Nico
a
does get
second.
jumped in
No,
on
no,
what is
no.
going on here. That's not correct.
He messed up?
Soldier's going to get taken
so
down.
badly.
Can the Warden actually get out? Bramble's thrown down. They catch him in the root, and they might lose both. That's bad. It's just straight up bad. There's no sugarcoating that one.
Yeah, just did a little bit too much there. He was one creep away. He sapped actually too much XP from the Tusk, so they couldn't cleanly get the dive going. There was no Rolling Thunder. So then they snowball both heroes on with one creep away from getting level 6 on the Pango, and then you're just like, well, we're stuck. What can we do? We can't do anything except for just die at this point. I mean, you need B-God there to get the kill onto the Tusk, but even if nobody batted an eye on the cut side, that was just a completely botched play.
Wow, Scourge is in a little bit of trouble there. Gets hit up. He's able to just walk out of the shards, though, and at the end of the day, he still held on to his wand. I thought he would have to pop it, but I don't really have much more. After the first Soul Assumption, Supernova didn't have another one sort of loaded up, and it's a bit unfortunate. Scourge is still kind of on low HP, but getting some tangos passed over. He's trying to just sort of heal up naturally as best as he can, so it feels like Felt have kind of missed their moment, although the support's a little bit far away. Pingu's trying to mess with the equilibrium here with this pull, so it'd still just be too risky, I guess, at this point. Supernova really would rather not try for it.
No, definitely not. I think it's at this kind of stage of the game where you want to just give that Visage his level 6. The Warden, surprisingly, has been sapping a ton of XP, and I understand the want to make as many plays as possible, and level 2 and level 3 tag team is a pretty huge increase in damage, but in doing so, this is one of the slower level 6s we've seen, and Scourge is actually already having Rupture in the lane, so on the same side, Pingu has not been taking very much away from him, but top, ooh.
Prophet healing with the Siphon. Here comes Solji. Shield Crash gets the job done as they find the first kill. B-God, level 2 Shadow Realm, didn't quite have enough damage to finish the Death Prophet, so he's just going to get taken down under the tower as well. And Solji picks up a nice double. He's going to TP back mid. Does he have mana for ult? No, he doesn't, which means the Warden may very well be taken down here. Does Nico want to zip after it? Yes, he does. Actually, isn't doing as much damage as I thought he would, so the Warden's going to get away. Pingu is the one who has to TP out, and he barely makes it. But he does get home safely.
Nope, that was pretty sick there from Pingu, just knowing that it's time to go. But also Solji getting the Lancer Pursuit is pretty annoying here, and well, the root's not going to land. It's got roll as well, but maybe not anymore.
Oh, timing's a little bit funky there, but okay. He's still going to be fine. That shield crash gave him a little bit of extra reduction, so he does walk away, and that's a bit unfortunate for Nico. B-God comes in, refills his bottle, and then he kind of just uses all that mana on a kill that he doesn't actually end up picking up anyway. As speaking of kills, Scourge, it's getting run down a little bit here. Death Prophet comes in, dropped the familiars on him, but wasn't actually enough. Supernova has to wait out the Rupture himself, so he just had to stand there while that goes down, though mid. Solji makes the jump again. The Warden, first couple of times, he was missing the Marquee T, but he has really been contributing nicely since then. It's Solji his 4th kill of the game, and you felt this is exactly what you want. Pango's got to get active, and he's got to start hitting.
Yeah, and even though he's been rotating, he hasn't been using the roll, so finally has it bottom, and he knows that there's no Rupture either.
Oh, look
and
at the
that.
shard. That's... well, it's nifty, but it's not quite enough. Can Solji get an angle?
Wow.
Wow, indeed. That was a very nice play. The shards are well-timed and well-placed. They just needed a little bit more. One more hit. They do come up short. So, of course, right, we praise Solji's kills and the Warden's play, and then they miss a kill onto the most valuable hero on the map. Although with Nico now walking into a silence, he might be able to find something anyway. Does manage to zip his way out just in time, and now Cursed Crown is going to connect onto the DP. Should be able to finish him off slowly but surely. Solji, he's ruptured. This is kind of awkward. He's going to have to just try and TP out. Do they have any way to stop that TP? Yes, they do. As Nico gets his revenge. He's the first man jumped in on. Not only does he live, his teammates clean up a pair of kills.
Yeah, super hard punish on Solji, just kind of sticking around where he had no place being after the fact. And, well, the bottom play was pretty good because it was 30 seconds until the next Rupture. But he just kind of walks into that one. And during this entire time, Nick's just been looking at top, farming up his Blink Dagger.
Uh-oh.
They just got chronoed.
Look at the fancy chrono, too. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually increase your damage in chrono, so Nick did last a little while, but not enough. Paradise gets the kill. That is both chrono and exorcism used for that kill, though, which is a little bit unfortunate, but what, 10 minutes in, I don't think the DP was going to really link up with any sort of cart wave to push an objective anyway. Although now he has to make sure he doesn't get picked off here, because that's just too far forward. Did he forget that he's not a core? Because it kind of feels like that's what happened.
Yeah, he's going to get his sentry killed as well. And was going to mention the supports on the cut kind of struggling to get their level 6s, but with that kill on the DP, now your AA has Ice Blast. B-God took over the mid lane while Nico was getting mana, and we're kind of back to feeling pretty happy with the way that the lanes are. I do think we're getting a lot of good farm on the Felt side, though. We're almost at Midas timing for our Faceless Void, so he's going to be able to farm up quite nicely. That's where, though, there's the smoke up coming through. Honestly, there's no rune. They need to place a Warden. They're looking for the Void again.
We got him. Ice Blast is going to come through. That's a little bit weird with the Time Walk interaction, but it's enough to get Paradise away. Okay, all's well that ends well if you're Felt.
Yeah, the Terrorize just didn't land, I think, long enough. And if you look at over at the Brambles, they're still there. He just didn't walk into one. He initially missed, which is unfortunate for B-God. Because with that, they've used a lot of mana, and with their big ultis, that mid tower ended up eating about half damage. And Nick, well, okay, he's here.
They dodge out the arrow, though. Or not the arrow, the spear, rather. And now they're looking for the fight, trying to take Nick down. They will get him. He didn't want to use the arena. Now, I mean, what else is there to do? Scourge is looking for an opening. He has Rupture, but anyone that he went in on had 2 or 3 heroes next to them to sort of just kind of spread things out and act as the deterrent. So, Felt, nicely played. They find the kill. I don't think they're going to get damage on the tower, though.
There's an Arcane Run the Storm as well that they might be looking at and saying, oh, this is a little bit sketchy. But here we go. Yet again, they're on the tower. And with the Storm Spirit walking towards top, I feel like the cores have ventured maybe a little bit too far away. Glyph is working. They are being very obnoxious here. They're not giving this up for free. And Felt might even just decide that this is a little bit too much of a waste of time. But in doing so, I guess the tower does survive. They do have Exo up again, though. So we'll have to see where the Death Prophet decides to play next.
Some options to work with. In the meantime, well, what's the progress on the Blink Dagger for Nick? He's a couple hundred away, which honestly is a little surprising considering how much time he just kind of spent up top minding his own business, but it's going to come his way soon. Will it be soon enough, though? Because Nico's getting jumped in on the silence into the stun. Walrus Punch is there. That's a nice Ice Blast, though. Solji. Okay, he doesn't actually TP out in time. He will fall. Scourge picks up 2. Now he's looking for 3. Onto the Death Prophet. He's taking a lot of damage from these Siphons, though. Oh, man. Siphon and every single Exo Ghost was just hitting up onto him, so he found 2. You know, don't get too greedy. Don't kill yourself for the 3rd, and it's a nice response. It's unfortunate that Nico dies, but they still make the trade valuable.
And Scourge is actually just all the way back to base. Just couldn't kill any neutral camps before they would have killed him to run that fine line. But no, it feels pretty nice here. We do have Chrono coming back up yet again, though, for Felt. Could see them making another play, and they do kind of have to make a play. Something that they haven't been doing too good of a job, though, is scouting which side of the map that Scourge is playing on. Because right now, your Pango probably wants to just show up towards bottom, then look for picks there, just trying to avoid that Bloodseeker as much as you can. But during all this time, your Mars just finished up Blink Dagger on the cut side. We could see Nick just go for a smoke, plain and simple, into the night, and then it might be time to get this game rolling. They are going to get dewarded, though, down here, which is mildly unfortunate. This is exactly where they would have liked to make a play with that Blink Dagger.
Nice little scouting maneuver there from Supernova and the Warden, but well, said it. They've got the blink. I don't think they spotted Little Nick after he got that delivered, so yeah, the smoke play could get them somewhere, but who actually has one? There we go. One sitting in B-God's inventory, so they could group up, try to make that play, although Nick, well, he's hanging out mid still, and at this point, they will have scouted out that he has that Blink Dagger, so the element of surprise is kind of gone, but doesn't make him any less dangerous.
No, he's still a threat, and I think connecting up towards top is also a wise choice. You'd love to kill the DP as well. I think a dive on the DP might just be immediately countered out by either the Pango or the Faceless Void, but gotta be careful here. This has to be an ultra clean kill, otherwise those TP rotations could be fearsome, but there you go. No way he survives this.
That's about as easy as it gets. There we go. They do manage to finish it off. Now they can get damage onto the tower because nobody TP'd up because nobody was going to be able to save the Death Prophet. So, clean play from the cut. Only problem, yeah, they need to TP some heroes down bot because their tier 2 towers getting beat up. But Nick, he just used the arena top, so if he wanted the initiation, he didn't really have the means. I think he's just trying to clear out the creep wave at this stage, but it's not quite working. The tower might still go down if they don't finish off that siege creep now. There we go. Tower will not live, as Nick is going to deny it, but they deny it rather than just straight up lose it to the Feld side.
Yeah, mildly unfortunate, but there's not much they can do about that. They don't really have the best wave clear. It's one of the reasons why this Dark Willow feels kind of meh as a support. And well, they're breaking here. No arena for 30, but you're gonna just try to get carried by Terrorize.
Oh, they did get Solji. They're going to pull him in with the Vortex. It's a little bit stacked with that Terrorize, but it won't matter. They do still find the kill. Ice Blast coming in kind of late. It technically hits onto Supernova, but by that point the fight's kind of already over. But they got what they wanted. They take down Solji. It does come at a... Oh my god. It does come at a cost as Paradise comes in and says, listen, I want a kill. Is it the most valuable kill in the world? No, but I want it. Willing to use Chrono for it. It does set up very nicely for this tower push, though, so that is going to make the investment of the Chrono maybe a little bit less costly.
Yeah, and making that play happen, the map is really blown wide open right now. I think with Chrono being on CD and the BKB flying out for the Bloodseeker, it might be time for the cut to actually get aggressive here. Really, everything's just come back off cooldown for them to look for a play, but they have to really find the important targets right now. Otherwise, they're really starting to fall behind. Or felt they keep on getting those objectives. They keep on opening up the map more and more. Even a Blink Dagger over on the Tusk. So anyone you go on with that Storm Spirit could just be saved and delayed until you end up overextending yourself. They'd love to kill mid here and then play on that tower, but there's just no target. Felt they're just stonewalling them right now.
And the smoke play kind of broke apart there. Only Scourge getting revealed, but that's enough. They are still pushing their way forward, though, and honestly, they can afford to. Nick still has a Blink Arena play, but it feels like the Feld really do know that. They're just playing so disciplined right now, not sending anyone out there, because it's a trap. Everyone knows it's a trap. They're going to have to sacrifice their tower, but that's better than just marching yourself straight into death.
Yeah, and unfortunately for their lineup, this is where you would want to just go into the pit and then force your opponents to team fight you, but the cut can't do that. Felt are way better at making that type of play happen with the Death Prophet, so the cut instead have to settle for farm, and farm is farm. They're pretty happy, but that's where we are in that Doomsday territory versus Faceless Void that you can never talk about enough. The Midas is ticking away. The Chronosphere cooldown is also ticking away, where he's effectively just a creep, but it's working.
Gonna force a TP back here from Nick, as this pressure's just been here the whole time. Supernova hasn't really let up on it. He's not, pulling a full sort of Beastmaster where he's just sunk in this lane for the entire game, but he's coming back frequently enough to just make it a constant source of worry for the cut. Speaking of worry, they are getting hit up a little bit here as Pingu's dropped down. Not able to finish him off, though. Apparition rather, is able to just sort of limp his way out, and he wasn't going to be worth the most money in the world, but the fact that they come so close and don't actually finish it is concerning, because now this happens. Ice Blast comes through because the AA did not die, and that helps them find that kill without having to overcommit.
Yep, very clean jump, in and out. Don't have to worry about that Faceless Void TPing in and catching you, so clean stuff. Still farming really well on the Felt, but I think we're getting to that part of the game where if you can get away, especially this top tier 2 tower, take away the outpost from Dire, even just walking out here becomes kind of sketchy. Yeah, the DP trying to catch up to her, but unfortunately,
Bramble
he's
hits.
walking.
First Crown's in, should find the kill. Oh, still takes him a little while, all things considered, but they do find the pickoff. Creep wave's coming in, so they have a chance to maybe hit up this tier 2. No, they're not really taking it. Okay. It's a little bit of a strange one. They just farm instead.
It's one of those situations where it's just very tough for Bloodseeker to ever hit a tower. It's just too easy to die at this stage of the game. It's where the smoke is definitely a little bit more tantalizing here. They're looking for the Visage, but I don't know. I don't feel like this works out for you. And with nobody showing, we'll see they're going to start breaking underneath the ward. Yeah, he's going to see him for a moment here, and then daytime.
Okay. Well, should be able to pick this one up. Not a fast kill by any means, but Supernova does go down. Can they clean up the familiars too? That would be perfect. Yep. Little Nick gets them both with a single rebuke, and it's a nice swing of gold. They find the pick, they get the familiars, they stop that split push bottom at least for a little while. But now, ET, do we start seeing one or both teams maybe start shifting their gaze a little bit over towards that Roche pit? No one's really touched it or even looked at it, but coming up on that sort of mid-game timing where having an Aegis would boost your confidence a little bit.
No, it definitely would. It's also where I think keeping this river control so nice for Nico. Haste rune, of course, not the most impactful rune. Pretty nice for just walking around where you don't have to commit zips to be in the right position, but I think that's where Felt and getting picked off the past 5 minutes or so. You've bought enough time for your Faceless Void, but it's time for you to force your opponents into this pit area. It's where you need to be the ones to kind of get this game rolling again. Just hit level 12 as well in the Death Prophet, so you've got level 2 Exorcism. They're looking for a pick first, but I feel like the picks aren't just going to come to them. It's where this top wave, you'd be lucky to find Nick, but you're cutting in deeper. But B-God, look at him. He's a sentry right now. He's just looking. He might go down, but this is your 5-man smoke, and that's a B-God that's up in 35 seconds. Somebody who has buyback as well, so will this be enough?
I'm gonna try it. Understandable that they feel the need to just sort of go for it while they think they have any sort of opening, but here comes the Ice Blast. And they know. The question is,
Nick
how
scouted.
many come over? He's going to have to sort of reposition, and Roche is going down, but I understand Felt's hesitance at this moment. They know, yeah, this could happen. Nick pushes in, Roche goes down. Paradise, though, does get the Aegis. Things get a little dicey there, but they hold their own. Now they're looking for even more because they caught Scourge in the chrono. They have to kill him off here. They will do exactly that. As that's a Lotus reflecting onto his Vortex, but Nico does still find the kill onto Solji. At that point, though, really, that's just kind of salvaging something. It's still very much a lost fight if you're the cut.
Yeah, and in that team fight, maybe you get away with the greed, but I think Bigo just needs to buy back. They actually got there in time. That was a situation that was 100% contestable, as well as the Faceless Void. Paradise did not chrono on top of the Aegis. That could have gotten way worse for them if the Aegis actually got nabbed in there by Nick, but just didn't get lucky on the click battle. And of course, you still lose the Pango, but yeah, just saving the chrono till the end of the day, just killing off Scourge. That kind of sucks for you. Not to mention that now we are going to be back in that farming situation where all you do is kind of just sit around and wait for your next batch of items to come forward. Nick's hunting, but it's just supports.
They're able to cancel the TP at least, so Nico does find a kill, but Nico was close to Paradise there, and I'm not really sure he ever actually saw him, so Faceless Void walks away, farms up, closing in on, I think that's the Mjolnir upgrade he's looking for, so Faceless Void's damage is going to start taking some big steps forward in the cut. They got to be a little bit more careful now. Scourge has a Mjolnir of his own, working now towards the Basher, but as we saw, if he gets caught in that, in that Chronosphere, he just gets taken down. Need to buy him time to actually activate his BKB in some of these circumstances as Nick. Nick is using the Bulwark to try and buy some time, but on the backline, Pingu did get picked off, so there isn't going to be an Ice Blast here as Scourge. He's jumping onto Supernova, but he's able to Stoneform himself and really does slow down this fight, but they were able to shift their targets. They instead get onto the Faceless Void. They're going to burn through his first life, but while that happens, Scourge just runs out of gas. The Terrorize is nice, but it's not enough. Solji's able to get back in with the shield crash and do find that kill. So on the one hand, that is Aegis down. On the other, you found 2 kills, and maybe it could be more. Do they have eyes on Nick? They did scan, so they know he's in there. And they're going to spot him. BKB, though, activated. Nick caught in the chrono. They're not taking any chances. Little
He's
bit
gonna get a
more.
spear off, but no way.
Come on, Nick. He's got his dancing shoes on, and he is going to get out. No bash, no hit even. That's not allowed. You can't let him get out after you use Chronosphere, but makes it away.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit unfortunate. especially because the spear didn't even land onto the Faceless Void. It kind of worked out, though. He just was able to swap on through those trees. But now, okay, no chrono. You know that you can actually push into the night here with the cut. All you have to do is play off of Nico's lineup, and then suddenly you'll have enough damage to kind of make this play happen. Looking over as well, even though he uses BKB, he's still got Arena, and they just get the D words. So now Felt's effectively playing blind into the night here. I feel like they should just look for the back way, but no, jumped.
Okay. Soldier's caught. Ice Blast, excuse me, coming in. They do make the connection. Now they want the Warden as well. They'll hit him up with the Rupture. That Snowball is going to get him away. It also gets him away from any of his teammates, though. Yeah, so he is going to get picked off. Nick, though, actually keeping everyone distracted, but he's keeping them distracted by dying. But it is going to buy time. Nico zipping back in. Scourge advancing forward. They're in onto the Death Prophet with the lockdown. They'll find that kill. The Terrorize being faked out by Bigot. He's not going to deploy it just yet. But there's only 2 targets left to hit, so he is going to try and hit up somebody at this point. But with the BKB active, they can't actually go onto Paradise right now. They have to wait this out, but their HP is so damn low. Scourge dropping rapidly. Now the Terrorize comes in. But it's really defensive more than anything else. Bigot is gonna... I was gonna say he's getting taken down, but Paradise can't quite hit him up just yet. Now they'll finish him off. Scourge now TP's home. So at the end of the day, that fight looked terrible for Feld. And then all of a sudden, Nick tries to be the distraction. They take him down. They finish off the 2 supports, and it's still a loss looking at the experience, the net worth exchanged, but those 2 support kills make it so much better than it should have been.
Yeah, and you get the kill onto the Faceless Void as well, which of course feels very nice, but I think surviving is also just as important, and it was an interesting punish from both sides. Of course, Nick didn't have his BKB because he used it to survive out from top, but neither did the Faceless Void, so it was interesting. Of course, at the end, you do get the BKB coming up just as that fight is ending, so it's not like you were ever the main target there from Paradise, but at the same time, we're going to get back into this kind of a pause where I think both teams looking for that Aegis and honestly some big items as well. I think the BKB on the Storm Spirit, it's going to help him just a little bit in regards to not getting silenced by that DP. Doesn't have to worry about the bird stomping either, but doesn't help your mana pool anymore. That's why this hero has really gotten a lot less popular. It's just not easy to make as many plays with the Storm Spirit as it used to. A lot more balanced, and even got lucky with the Fairy Trinket as your tier 1, but it just doesn't feel like the same magic that he used to have.
It's been a lot of his threat sort of taken away. Supernova on the other side, though, he's got an AC built up. So the Visage, let's talk about that sort of utility play from him. It is becoming more and more dangerous. And speaking of danger, the Warden, just a tiny bit too far in front of his teammates, I think. Paradise was coming in and did have the chrono ready, but yeah, I think the Warden may have just jumped the gun by the tiniest margin, but they don't find the kill. I don't think they know Nick is here. They could scan for it, but really have a reason to suspect that he was in the area, although they will see him now. He cleared out a creep wave.
Yeah, and pushing in onto the tier 3. Well, there's no response here from the cut. It is just the tier 1 tower, so you don't need to overreact, especially because Nick has been creep cutting top, and I think Scan will barely clip him here at the end, and look, the Warden, he's hunting. They know on the wave.
There's going to be the jump in. Nick's in some trouble. Could pop the BKB, and honestly, he could just TP out right now, right? They already used the Walrus Punch. Oh, okay, the Bash is making that a little bit more complicated, but he's going to try. And they don't get another Bash.
Yeah, it's tough. I feel like you just save either the Walrus Punch or the Swash, but just got greedy. He was afraid that he was going to blink away, so I understand why the Pango played the way and did what he did, but at the same time, that's a pretty big whiff, and the creep cut was successful. You do have a cart, I think, slowly coming up the lane here, so you will be able to remove that backdoor, but at the same time, the most important thing right now is killing Nick at the tier 2. They get him now, pretty big issue for the cut, but we'll have to see if he lets that mistake happen. He's pretty confident, though, to stand here. I would not be.
Yeah, now that the tower's gone, there's really just no reason to be there anymore as he does back away. Paradise, okay. He did have the reverse, so That was a little bit of a risky move, but he's feeling pretty confident at the moment as they poke the high ground. That's forcing back the TPs, though, and here comes Nico zipping in. Just going to clear out the creeps, but Exorcism is going, so they're still going to be able to get some damage onto the tier 3. Is it enough to finish it, though? They're trying to play cautiously, so I'm not sure they're going to be able to take it.
Ooh, gets one bird. Has a resummon in 45, so Visage not the strongest hero as of right now, but a lot of damage on that tier 3 tower. It's in deny range right now, so pretty successful push, as well as now the mid tower should not really be a fight. They should back out away because there's no exorcism, but there's also no glyph, so it's tempting to stick around, but oh, they're huddling around the DD rune, and Void has a DD. Well, this is problematic.
See what they look to do with this. This smoke feels like it might have been just a little bit early from them, but gets them up onto the high ground. There's a smoke out from the cut as well. They're going to reveal now into Solji, but they miss with the spear, and, well, now I'm not sure there's really going to be any sort of fight. Curse Crown does come in eventually, but he's far enough back where they can't chase.
And they're still holding the DD, and oh, they got Storm.
That's big. Nico's going to go down. No buyback for him as he spent all his money trying to pick up those items. BKB is nice and shiny and new, but didn't do him any good.
Fortunately for the cut, though, his respawn timer is only 10 seconds ahead of the Roche timer, so you'd hope that that wouldn't be enough, but with them missing their tier 2 top, this is kind of a scary position to be in, and even now, this is a little bit fearsome
Oh, Nick.
as Nick just walked into him.
With the Walrus Punch, they slow him down as well. Nick is going to be forced to pop his BKB. Does he want to turn for the arena? Yes, he does. He's going to get the spear stun down onto Supernova, but where's the damage to follow it up? Everyone's falling back. It's just no play here, really, and B-God, I mean, he gets the Terrorize off, but he doesn't actually run away while he's channeling that out. This is going to get a little bit awkward. B-God is dead. Scourge, though, just turns around. BKB and Rupture coming through. The Warden, though, was the one who's hit, so even if he does die, it's not enough to matter. And look at those bashes! Scourge just wasn't ready for it. He gets taken down, and now... I mean, the cut, what do they have? I mean, Storm is back up now, but Scourge is dead with no buyback. They just used a buyback on B-God, so... I mean, I think that was going to be a loss no matter what, ET, but it feels like they made it so much worse trying to kind of force the issue a bit from the cut. And Nico, speaking of forcing the issue, he's all the way in. BKB active, he kills the Warden, but he needs help. Nick is going to come in, Spear connects onto 2, Rebuke is there as well, but again, without Scourge, there's just not enough damage to win this fight.
Yeah, they don't have Ice Blast either. It's up in 10 seconds, so the kill attempt onto the Death Prophet doesn't work out either, and well, they're just going to retreat into the Roche pit, and with the Exo going, only have, I think, maybe 10 more seconds of it, but that's going to be enough for you to at least get this Roche started, but it's going to die so quickly. You just finished off way too many items. Probably give the Shard over to, I imagine... Oh, I guess everybody's already got their Shard. I guess the Pango.
Oh, God,
Oh,
Nick! He's in! Who can grab it? No, it's Paradise who takes it, but the Ice Blast did connect, so Paradise is going to lose that first life. Now the arena gets thrown down, they'll turn around, they'll kill off the Death Prophet. This is actually potentially doable. Solji's going to get hit by the Rupture, so he can't actually afford to roll. Had to cancel it, had to try and TP home, but he gets taken down before he can really complete that TP, and all things considered, if you're the cut, you know that goes pretty well. You immediately take the Aegis away, you find 2 other kills. Nick dies, but it's a short death timer at this stage, and he has buyback if needed, so very nicely done. That Roche attempt still doesn't go their way, but they're at least not going to get punished for it.
No, that was pretty funny. They just ended up scouting out the Arcane Rune bottom with a ward that they placed, 5 minutes ago, and then with that, you actually have enough mana from the Storm Spirit to even make that engagement feel like a possibility, and, well, if the age is gone, now you just probably wait for the Exorcism, and then we're probably going to see them go again, but at the same time, you don't have that buffer to play around with. We've never seen the Faceless Void be the one they start on in the middle of a team fight, but I feel like that's a little bit more confidence for the cut to play around with, as well as, I think, finally getting some more of these items finished off. Every fight is still kind of costing them quite a bit, and their opponents are still growing incredibly fast, especially the Refresher on Faceless Void. It's going to be a bit of a problem, but I think the Cut are getting more and more confident the longer this game goes, especially the Storm Spirit. And of course, Storm Spirit's in losing games, the fountain's right there. You can still zip. It's not 5-0 talismans, but it's something to play around with.
He's got that sort of quick resource, just fill himself back up and keep on pushing, so we'll see what they can do with it, because the map is starting to shrink a little bit more, right? Tier 2 tower just fell, so it's going to be base defense the rest of the way through if you're the Cut, but they have some pretty solid high ground defense and good wave clear, so I don't know. If you're Felt, this doesn't feel like a situation where you can afford to just sort of send the battering ram forward, although if said battering ram is Paradise with a double chrono, maybe you go for it. There's the first chrono. They're going to catch out that Bloodseeker. Ice Blast hits onto Solji on the back line, though, so he still can't fight. But Scourge gets taken down. He has to buy back, but here comes Nick in with the arena, dropping down the spear. I'm just not sure it's really going to be enough. Nico dies, but he buys back too, so everyone's back in for the Cut. They're trying to force this Terrorize. Hits onto 2. Do they actually want to go any further forward? I think at this point they're trying to pull it back a little bit. Still wanting to use that tier 3 for defensive purposes, but you see what I mean, what do you think? They hold, but that's 2 more huge buybacks no longer available.
Oh, yeah, and now they just really want to kill the Faceless Void, but it's also where Exo was already spent. They do have Rolling Thunder. This is where Solji wants a little bit of revenge on the Pango, but no more room for error, especially on the Storm Spirit. If you die, your base is pretty much going to follow, and Spear back. Okay, that's your first die back.
Death Prophet dies back. Solji used the roll, actually, so well, that's a hero down. That's one of your ults down. And that means Felt can't stick around anymore. They're just going to back off, and as they back away, well, you see the Cut kind of pushing forward a little bit before they quickly realize, realistically speaking, we're not going to catch anybody. So instead, they'll just farm. Much needed farm at this point as well, so they have bought themselves some time.
Yeah, and time to finish off a ton of these big items. You're going to have a full Hex built up on the Mars, even the Storm Spirit, and I was going to praise it before that fight broke out, but looking back for this Silence, this Orchid is actually going to be really important. There's just not a lot of those distos aside from the Lotus Sword built up on the Pango. When it comes to your defensive capabilities, a lot of what Felt has built up is just damage or selfish or ags, and okay, Pango. Die back.
Rupture because of the Lotus, but they don't need it.
And you're
100
dead.
seconds on the sideline. Yeah, that's brutal. Do they have a creep wave in a position to take advantage of that, though, is going to be the real question. And right now, kind of. I guess they could push mid, but not really grouped up for it at the moment. But they've got nearly a minute and a half to try and make some sort of move, so doesn't have to be immediate, but you'd think at some point they are going to try this, because they have to know, right, that Solji bought back in that fight bottom.
Yeah, they're just being very cautious. They don't want to give up this game, and they know that very easily this game could be blown wide open by just a single chrono. They want to give as much respect to the Felt as they can, but that's also where it's about to be daytime. Daytime's going to make them feel a lot safer. You have to smoke on the Felt, or for Felt to actually find that jump on that Faceless Void. And they're chilling around this high ground ward. Okay.
Ice Blast comes in. Defensive Snowball actually goes a little bit too early, so they still get hit by the Ice Blast, but where's going to be the response? There it is. Chronosphere comes in. They're going to try and take Pinko out. Nico, though, zipping onto the back line, looking to trade out at least 1 or 2. Secondary Chrono coming in as they have cut out Scourge McDuck. Can they finish him off? Yes, they can. Scourge dead for nearly 2 minutes. B-God taken down as well as he was trying to TP out on the high ground. Nick is still here. Yeah, he needs to try and get out of here as best as he can. But while he makes his escape, his teammate silenced up and run down. As the Death Prophet gets the kill, that's another hero who doesn't have buyback available, and at this point,
that's probably the game.
yeah, that might just be the end of it. Those timers are pretty long. Maybe Nick has a miracle, but he doesn't have his arena, so really think they can pull it off. Gotta try it, though, because the alternative is losing.
Yeah, and it's a 4v5. They have the high ground. Unfortunately, they don't press the envelope before the refresher comes back, so they do just get double chronoed, which is a little bit sad. And as well as I don't think Nick bought out his Hex until after the fight, because he was going to try and save for buyback, worst case scenario. But in doing so, not having the Hex, they just dropped the ball in terms of their initiation. And yeah, they're getting the megas just in case here, but can only imagine that this should probably be the game, even if they get a perfect arena combo here on somebody. I don't think that's enough to kill the Faceless Void at this stage. He's just a little too tanky. Okay,
Nick's gonna give it a go on a Solji, though. They hit him with the Ice
well,
Blast, so he does die. But the tier 4s are still falling. Ancient's gonna be exposed in just a moment, or maybe not. It comes in to buy some time, and you're felt. You're watching that timer. 20 seconds for the Bloodseeker. I think they might just be able to end it before that, but Nick is going to give this a go, but there's the BKB. Spear won't connect, and that should just about be the end of it. No, the Terrorize is going to hit on a couple, but I don't think this matters. The Ancient's exposed. It's down to half HP already. Curse Crown coming through, but even if the Bloodseeker does respawn, he can't kill everybody before the Ancient dies. So, Felt get their first win of the group stage. They get a little bit of revenge against the Cut here, a team that they had gone up against pretty consistently and had lost against them pretty consistently as well. But start off on the right foot here with a game 1 win.
yeah, and I think the cut kind of looked uncomfortable here. I feel like the Storm Spirit looked fine. Of course, not that S hero that a lot of people think him to be still, but I think they had a lot of those comfort heroes. I think Scourge was right at home. I think Nico was right at home. The only person I feel like wasn't really balling out of control was B God. It's just where you're, I think, a little bit more limited in your own personal damage, so you have to rely on your teammates a little bit more. And Nick just really struggled, I think, to find a lot of those plays. Wasn't able to really make anything happen on the Visage, who was the person kind of getting caught out the most and should have probably been picked off the most in that bottom lane, but instead just not finding, I think, enough of those kills to slow down the Felt lineup. And then you also look at Felt's lineup and realize that maybe in the draft we gave him a few too many of the good ones. I think those heroes are maybe just a bit too broken to just go in your own direction. And even though I think the cut got a good few of those counter picks, got some nice things going for them, you're still playing versus Faceless Void DP. I feel like we're going to see very different opener come game 2.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the first spot that they look to make some adjustments. Other than that, some of these options just looked a little weird, right? The Willow, the Storm, even the Mars, not quite what we're used to seeing from those respective positions. So, the cut might bring it back towards more conventional wisdom for game number 2 here. Of course, even with that loss, they're still sitting in second place in the group stage standings, but they would like to actually get a point here and match Raven's win total at 7. So, see if the adjustments work out for them. We'll see if Felt can keep the ball rolling. They got their first win of the group stage on this one. Why not shoot for 2 in a row? So, we'll be stepping away for just a little bit. When we return, though, game 2 draft and our final match of the day. So stick around. See you there.